love that start where if I'm going to do this, I haven't really,
Yeah.
this is where I belong by the organ, and
Yeah.
you'll share us why.
Yeah, it is where I belong. It was one of the things I was remembering when you asked me to do this was Father Sproul's memorial service, and the church was packed. But I had a place to go because I had a keyboard to sit at. It's one of the benefits of being in the choir, everybody. You have a place to sit for anything important. I've been here for a long time. I joined St. Martin's originally in the very early 80s for about a year. The choir director at the time, Linda Simmons, who was the music director here for 25 years, had worked at my previous parish in the 70s. And I ended up coming here. I couldn't stay much more than a year. I was really early in my working days, and it was it's a lot of work, at least when you're young and still learning the repertoire. So I left after a year, and then in '89, I came back as a singer because I was buying a condo, and time, talent, and treasure, suddenly my treasure is gone. That's not happening, so I better go back to the time and talent thing. Well, they had a wonderful organist at the time, Frank Stein, so that talent wasn't going to be needed, but you can hide my voice in a choir. So I sang soprano until '95, and then I ended up going back to St. Catherine's to play organ for a while, and then Frank left here and Linda called me back, and she said, "Can you do it?" For a while I was juggling both, but this was where I was going to stay. So so technically I would say I started here in January of '96, and I've been here ever since.
And Kathy, why would technically be this where you want to stay?
St. Martin's is a wonderful parish. First of all, don't get me wrong, music ministries, for those of you who are old, you'll remember the old Ralph Nader thing. You can't say something is better than something else unless you can prove it definitively with data, but you can't say something's the best. Choir, it's the best. I've seen, first of all, there's the feeling from the music that when you've got the harmonies, when you've got it's a collaborative ministry. We're all working together on some little thing that hopefully is going to inspire the congregation. At the very least, it's going to illustrate the readings for the day. So hopefully, and when you get the harmony right and everything, it's just transcendental. That's the word I want. There's an old saying, they who sing pray twice, because there's prayer in the music. There's prayer in every instrumental I do. Even if it's a classical piece, it's usually by a religious composer or something like that. There is prayer in everything I do here. The choir they're fun. Choir parties are good. They work together. They'll bicker a little at times, but they're all working together. And then when things don't go right for some of the members, I've watched, it's frequently a family thing. Maybe I should go back to that. I started back in the 70s at St. Catherine's. My parents and my sister joined the choir, and then they needed somebody to fill in on the organ, which I had a few organ lessons under my belt and 7 years of piano. So I came in and joined that. And I got to keep the gig because I'm reliable, which you all know. I will be here. I may not be good, but I'll be here. So it was always a family. There've been families, I've watched families lose where the husband and wife both sang and one of them would die of cancer, and you watch really quietly the other choir members step up to be there for their kids. A woman I know got divorced, and I watched my dad and the other men in the choir step up, and just on Sundays and Thursdays, because we do choir babies, people, be there for them, play with them, roughhouse with them, listen to them. It was a great example. Coming here, it's the same thing. The choir here, when my dad finally got sick, because my parents joined this choir in the 90s and stayed put until my dad died a few years ago. And the choir was great for him. The choir did well for him. They'd help him up the stairs to the choir loft so he could do his last tenebrae on Good Friday. It just was the best feeling. And then there was a group from both the 9 a.m. and the 11 a.m. choirs that joined us for his memorial service, which was phenomenal. So choir is family. When you really give to it and you commit to it, yeah, you've got a bunch of friends and family for life. And you're spending virtually all your time here praying because you're singing religious text and working together. It's the best.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the organ, the story about the organ?
The organ. Does everybody see my baby? Okay, so way back in the day when we first started here, we had, in the 70s, we had an old con that sat about here, and that's got 2 keyboards and a few stops, and it's not bad. Well, after I left in the 80s, Frank helped them get an Allen organ like this one, and it had two registers, and it had a bunch of stops, and it was very, very good for the day. And we got a MIDI box for it, so if somebody wanted trumpet voluntary for their wedding, they got a trumpet sound. It was great. It was also old. I was telling people occasionally it would buzz. I don't know if you ever figured out what was going on in the speakers. Periodically, it didn't like heat, which none of us do, but it didn't like heat, and as the weather would warm up late, it would start forgetting to play certain notes when I played them, when I pressed them down. And the last time that happened was Holy Week. And everybody else is praying for whatever they're praying for. I'm praying over the organ for an entire Holy Week. So finally we got donations together, and it was determined we were going to get a new organ. So we looked all around the diocese. We had a committee, and we found this, and this is state of the art. We won't need anything more other than to keep it in good repair for years. It's got sounds I still haven't explored yet, and I've been playing with it for over a year. It's got memory. Holy Week this year, I came in, it's got 128 channels in memory, 10 settings each. I came in and programmed Palm Sunday, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday, all at once on various stations. So when I come in, all I have to do is 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, Friday and Saturday, they took more than one thing. They had to go over to 2 channels. That's a lot of music.
I want to ask you, I know you've seen a lot of funerals, a lot of weddings, a lot of celebrations that many churches do. How have you seen this church, this particular parish, change people's lives through funerals, weddings, celebrations? How have you seen people grow, families grow here?
Oh, watching families grow, the special celebrations, the weddings, the funerals, the baptisms, you watch throughout the thing. I mentioned choir babies earlier. There are children we've watched from their birth through going away to college, that they've come and they've either hung out with their parents, or they've actually sung or played an instrument like the flutes at 9 a.m. I had one teenage girl, her grandmother joined the choir, and she didn't want to sing, but she was my go-to. She'd turn on lights, she'd run errands, she'd check on people. We had a nonagenarian in the choir at one point, and she was downstairs, and I sent Jackie to go check on her. So yeah, you can watch that. The weddings have changed a lot over the years. We're not doing trumpet voluntary so much, but we're still seeing young people getting married and their families. The baptisms come in. Sometimes they're during Mass, sometimes they're after. And then the memorial services for people. And I'm starting to see people I've known the entire time I've been here pass. And it's rough. It's kind of sad. Mm-hmm. We've also been blessed by, the entire time I've been here, by a series of phenomenal pastors, starting with Monsignor Sheehan, who was actually the pastor both times I was hired. Father Sproul, the reason the place was so packed is because everybody loved Father Sproul. You think Father Jim couldn't follow in the footsteps? Yeah, actually he could. Father Jim, he's an outstanding minister. He's an outstanding presence and comforter, and that's ignoring the fact he's going straight to heaven because he put air conditioning in the place. And, oh, come on.
Yeah.
You know, we all know it, right? And then Father Elmer, who came in here right at the start of something none of us have ever experienced before and really handled it well, trying to keep the community together and keep our eyes on the Lord while we're dealing with all this nonsense and all this illness. He's been terrific. We've been blessed. There are a lot of parishes who can't say this.
How has your role in this parish changed your life?
Doing this, this is hard for me to explain how this has changed my life because I have been doing this more on than off since 1972. And I'm here in 1976. So I don't know me without choir, but I know I've grown. You learn liturgy. I can't make it through a freaking gospel reading because my mind will go off it'll trigger a hymn. And then my mind goes, I'll be singing the hymn in my head and all of a sudden I realize we're done and the homily's gonna start. You learn I know a lot about liturgy. My boss just went through diaconate training, just got ordained this year. And I proofread a lot of his stuff. You learn a lot about I learned a lot about our liturgy, a lot about our faith. I learned a lot about, like I said, I personally, and again, this is my family and their musical background, I find the music, the rituals. My husband thinks being Catholic he's not Catholic. He thinks being Catholic is terribly complicated, but I love the rite. I think it works very logically. The readings and the Eucharist, it's all good. So it just has made me, I'm a much more knowledgeable and a better Christian because I do this. If the music's too high for you, we can handle that. If it's too low for you, we can do something about that. Join the choir.